I was much younger, I couldn't wait until I grew up and got out from under the finger of my parents. It's not so much that I didn't like all of the rules that I had to live by. It's just that I thought that most of them made little or no sense. And so I would often push the limits to see how far I could go before I was punished, either by a good spanking on the rear or by being grounded. Then, when I was finally on my own, I discovered that there are still dumb rules that I have to abide by. I have to drive under a certain speed, or I'm going to get a ticket. When I file my taxes, I discover that some things are deductible and others aren't. And now, as a priest, I find myself having to proclaim the teachings of the church, often expressed in rules. And as a pastor, I have to enforce certain regulations for the smooth functioning of a parish. Rules, we all hate them. Life would be so much better without them. Or would it? I look back now on my days as a child and recognize now the love that my parents had for me, trying to make me a good and responsible person. I look around at society and see the wisdom of things such as traffic laws. And I see the truth expressed in the teachings and laws of the church that form us in God's ways. The problem with laws and commandments and rules is that almost all of them are negative formulations. They tell us what not to do instead of what we are supposed to do. And then we tend to become slaves to them, operating only at the minimal level that they expect. For example, the commandments are pretty straightforward. They're short, simple, easy to memorize. There are only 10 of them. And they should then be pretty easy to follow. Thou shalt not kill. I've never murdered anybody, never even come close to that. So I must be a pretty good person. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I'm not even married. I promised celibacy when I became a priest. Again, I must be okay on this one. But I'm sure that Jesus would say, hold on, not quite so quick. Why settle for a C when you can get an A? Why? Because a C is a whole lot easier and much less work. You know that from school. But Jesus expects more than just the minimum from his followers. Jesus calls his followers to a higher standard, to go deeper below the surface of what the words say. By a happy chance, there was a great cartoon in the paper this morning of little kids running out of Sunday school and telling their mother, we're trying to learn the difference between a thou shalt and a thou shalt not. Boy, it couldn't come at a better time than our readings tonight. What does thou shalt not kill really mean? Well, it means to have a positive respect for life. There are lots of things that show disrespect for life other than murder, like holding a grudge and refusing to forgive, or destroying another's reputation by spreading gossip, or being prejudiced against a certain class or race of people. What does "thou shalt not steal" really mean? Well, it means that we have to respect other people's things and be content with what we have. But how often have I been jealous of another person's lifestyle because they happen to have more money and can afford better things than I have? And have I done enough to protect the environment by recycling? What does "thou shalt not commit adultery" really mean? It means that we are called to a healthy respect for God's gift of sexuality, that the active expression of sexuality is to be reserved only for marriage, and that I will not use someone simply for my own pleasure, and I won't access online pornography. When I assess myself by those higher standards, I realize that I'm probably not as good as I would like to think, and that I probably have a lot of room to grow. Don't let the minimum become your standard. Jesus knows you can do better. It's your choice between a C and an A in faith.